guys, I'm Sahala and this is Taste With Me. Today we're going to be making a chiffon cake with a little twist. We are going to be making a char spice chiffon cake. Let's get started. Okay, so what we're going to need is half a cup of nidu, which is a milk powder, 5 eggs, half a cup of oil, a quarter cup of corn flour, 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sugar, whole spices, and ground spices as well. We're also going to need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. We are also going to need an empty bowl, a cake pan. I don't know the size because I'm not good at it, but I'll put in the description below. I'll have to measure. A spatula, and we're also going to need baking powder and baking soda. I just didn't put them in a bowl because I don't want them to lose their strength since it's a chiffon cake. We are going to need 2 teaspoons of baking powder and half a teaspoon of baking soda. The ground spices that I'm using is cardamon powder, nutmeg, and cinnamon. But if you have mixed spice, it's better if you use that. Since I don't have it in hand, I'm just using this. I used half a teaspoon of cardamom powder, a little bit more than a quarter teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. The whole spices that I'm using is star anise, use 2 whole, cloves, I'm using 5, cinnamon sticks, mine are broken down, so I'm using 1 teaspoon. Cumin, whole cumin, I used half a teaspoon. Whole cardamom, I counted 15. And a bit of black pepper. I'd say 6 maybe. Let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to boil 3/4 cups of water, not boil, simmer, with the milk powder and the spices to infuse them. Here I have my water, I'm putting my milk powder. Give it a mix. Okay, so we're going to put in our spices. Leave it at a very low heat, close the lid, and let it stand for, I'd say, 10 minutes. Let it infuse. So while this is infusing, we can go do something else. So the next thing we're going to do is separate our eggs, the yolks from the whites. Oh, and I also forgot, you have to preheat your oven to 155 to 160 degrees. It really depends on your oven. Okay, so using your electric stand mixer, or you can even use a hand mixer if you want, but I'm going to be using the electric mixer. We're going to whip our egg whites first, and your bowl needs to be grease free, nothing at all, and make sure you also don't get your yolks in the whites. So we're going to do this first because it's the easiest way, rather than doing the yolks, washing, then doing the whites. My egg whites are half whipped, so I'm going to add in 3 teaspoons of sugar, and I'll whip to stiff peaks and I'll show you how it looks like. My egg whites are whipped. If you did this, it doesn't fall. That's how you know they're ready. So I'm going to quickly transfer them to an empty bowl. Since our whites are whipped now, we have to work quick to do the other part of the batter. Set that aside. So now we're going to put in our yolks. And sugar. Let it whip until it's a beautiful orangey color. Around 5-10 minutes. Let it whip well. This is how they look. It's a pale yellow color or orange. It's really pretty. So now we're going to add in our vanilla. 1 teaspoon. And our oil. We're going to let it beat for another 2 minutes. So I brought here my milk that was mixing over there. I'm going to sieve the mixture. We just want the milk. Okay. It's still hot and we're going to use the way it is. What we're going to do is put in our mixed spice, our corn flour, and our flour. So while I'm mixing, I'm going to add my milk mixture little at a time until it's fully incorporated. The milk. So what I'm going to do now is add my baking powder and my baking soda. And give it a quick mix around 30 seconds, just until it's incorporated. So my batter is done. It was a little bit runny, so I did need to add around 2 teaspoons of flour. This is how it should look like. So now we're going to mix in half of our white. Give it a nice fold. Be gentle. And mix the rest of our whites. My pan is grease free. There's no oil, there's no butter, there's no parchment paper. I cleaned it well after I washed it, and this is how it works well for me. I get a nice light cake. It's just very beautiful. So this is how it looks like. Gorgeous. So let's put it in our pan. It smells so good. Very cinnamony, spicy. If you're a cinnamon fan, then this is your cake. So just give it a quick shake and we'll put it in the oven. All done. It's 1 hour in the oven. Sorry, I forgot to say. Leave it in there for 1 hour, more or less. But I'll show you how it should look like. Oh, and make sure you do not open your oven door at all. Then you cost. Okay, so this is how the cake should look like. It's been 1 hour. And when you move the pan, it's not, there's nothing liquidy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out, and you can see it's clean. I've poked it and it's clean. So now what we're going to do very quickly, take your pan, your board needs to be here ready. Flip it over, align it, and put a wet cloth on top. It needs to be wet with very, very cold water. And you leave it like this for 5 minutes. Then what you do is you take your cloth, wet it again, and then put it over the pan again. Wait another 4 minutes, and then I'll show you how I take it out of the pan. So one thing with the chiffon cake, if you, okay, let's say you open the pan, you moved it, and the cake is still liquid. What you do is you close the door, turn the heat up to 175, 180, leave it like that for 5 minutes, then reduce the heat. You can't let that air escape, because then the cake will sit completely. So I'll do this process and I'll show you how to remove from the pan. So I flip my cake over. It's still warm. It's not hot, it's just warm. I'm going to run my knife down the sides. You can even do this push. You can try and do this while the cake is completely cold, but I wouldn't advise you on that. So as you can see, it comes off easily because we let it have that rest. So I hope it didn't break. Let's hope, cross our fingers and hope for the best. And 1, 2. Here we go, our gorgeous chai spice chiffon cake. You can see it's fluffy and big. Okay, so since the video would be too long if I frosted this cake, I will frost it and I'll show you how, but it will be in the other video. So that's it for this episode. I hope you guys liked it. Comment, subscribe, and let me know what you think.